think willpower is enough for weight loss? Think again. Most people think they just need more willpower or the perfect diet or just to try harder. But let's be honest, if that worked, you wouldn't still be stuck and nobody would be overweight. Most people assume that if they just make a sensible plan, write everything down, promise themselves they'll follow it, psych themselves up, the rest is just going to fall into place. But the reality is we don't operate on willpower alone. We're driven by dopamine and by habit loops. The same ancient wiring that helped us to survive is the wiring that makes you reach for comfort when you're tired, or you're stressed, or you're emotional, or just feeling low. And in evolutionary terms, we lived in caves literally 5 minutes ago. So if discipline alone worked, you'd have made the plan, you'd have stuck to it by now, you wouldn't have given up 5, 10, 20 times. You wouldn't still be searching for that mythical system that finally clicks. And you wouldn't be lying awake half the night, blaming yourself, thinking, I'm useless, I'm weak, I'm hopeless, I'm lazy, it's just me. There must be something wrong with me. Everyone else can do this, why can't I? Bit of a mindset angle in today's video. Spoiler alert, everyone else can't do it either. They're just better at hiding it. Or they had a luckier set of chances dealt to them. You wouldn't still be chasing the dream or the dream of someday when you finally feel healthy and confident and in control with a flat belly and your clothes all fitting the way they're supposed to. And here's the truth that most programs will never tell you. It's not your fault. It was never about willpower. It was never about having the perfect set of rules or counting every crumb. It was always about something deeper. The way your brain, your metabolism and your habits are all wired together. So today I'm going to explain exactly why quick fixes never last, why willpower almost always fails, and why 3 months is the absolute minimum to rebuild your health in a way that's going to actually last. I'm Voysey, health coach, kitchen scientist and ex-bulimic turned metabolism nerd. Basically, I've spent the last 20 years learning, bon dia, how to outsmart my own brain so I'd stop eating crisps for dinner. And now I'm here to help you do the same without relying on mythical willpower or these mythical willpower reserves that none of us actually have. Part 1, why blaming yourself keeps you stuck. Let's start here because this is where most people get trapped. Blaming yourself doesn't make you stronger, it makes you stuck. Every time you start a diet and then you quit, your brain doesn't just file it under didn't work, it files it under I failed. And that's how the shame cycle begins. And when you believe that failure is your fault, you lose trust in yourself. You create this story that you're just bad at this. This is not harmless. Research published in Health Psychology, which is a peer-reviewed scientific journal published by the American Psychological Association, shows that self-criticism and shame about eating behaviours increase stress, fuel emotional eating, and reduce your ability to self-regulate. Shame doesn't create discipline, it creates avoidance. And when you feel ashamed, you stop showing up for yourself because it hurts too much to keep proving your worst fears are right. This is also how eating disorders begin. Food addiction, anorexia, bulimia, they're not character flaws, they're mental health disorders rooted in that same cycle. Restriction, trying to control food to feel better. Deprivation, your body and your brain rebel. Loss of control, binging or obsessive behaviour. And shame and self-punishment, the cycle starts over again. I know this personally. I lived in this loop for decades. Restricting, binging, purging, restricting again. Feeling like there was something fundamentally wrong with me and reinforcing that by telling myself that every single day. Turns out there wasn't. And there isn't anything wrong with you either. And it wasn't until I approached my condition from a completely different perspective that I was able to finally heal myself. If you're enjoying my videos and you'd like to support this channel, please consider becoming a subscribed member from just $2.99 a month. Cost of a coffee. Your membership helps me to keep this work going, to create fresh content every week and to reach more people who need it. Plus, you'll get exclusive access to extra resources and behind the scenes updates. Just hit the join button below this video to find out more. And thank you for helping to grow this community. It absolutely means the world to me. And it turns out it means the world to people all over the world, judging by your comments, your positivity. It just absolutely shines through every day when I read those comments. And if I don't have time to answer you personally, please don't please don't take it personally. It's just that I'm just overwhelmed with workload and talking to my clients, and just, there's only so much time in every day. Section 2, why willpower is a limited resource. Let's talk about willpower. So we're sold this idea that we just need more discipline, that we can white knuckle our way to health if we want it badly enough, if we could just be a bit stronger, be a bit better at it. This time it's definitely going to work. But here's what science actually shows. Willpower is a finite resource. Psychologists call this ego depletion, and it's a fancy term for your self-control battery is going to run out. Studies by Dr. Roy Baumeister, conducted in 1998, showed that people who used willpower on one task, like resisting cake or a cookie, had less willpower later on for their next task, even if those two tasks were totally unrelated. So the more stress you have, the faster the battery drains, the more decisions you have to make, the faster the battery drains. And the more you restrict yourself, the faster the battery drains. You've got it. This is why you can be a disciplined, capable person in every other area of your life and still struggle with food. It's not that you're weak, it's just that you're a human and you have to do other human things like a job and showing up and raising a family and all the other things that stress us out. Willpower is supposed to be your backup generator. It's not supposed to be the power supply for your entire life. What actually works is building systems and habits so you never have to rely on that willpower in the first place. Section 3, why starvation diets and calorie counting don't work. Let's call a spade a spade. Calorie counting is just a starvation diet in disguise. Remember the Minnesota starvation experiment? I've talked about it before. When you drastically cut your calories, your body doesn't think, fantastic, finally she's being disciplined. Your body actually thinks, famine, alert, alert, danger. So it does exactly what it's designed to do in those conditions. It slows down the metabolism, aka adaptive thermogenesis. It lowers thyroid hormone production. It raises ghrelin, the hunger hormone, makes you more hungry. This is a survival mechanism. Increases cortisol, that's your stress hormone, to mobilize energy. This is why you end up hungrier and more fatigued and even more obsessed with food. A landmark study called the Minnesota starvation experiment, conducted in the 1940s, demonstrated this really clearly. I've talked about it before in previous videos. So healthy men restricted their calories by half for 6 months. This was their choice. They did it voluntarily. They were conscientious objectors who didn't agree with having to be soldiers and go to war, so they were invited instead to be part of this amazing experiment conducted by our old friend Ancel Keys, he of the cholesterol theory fame. So how did this experiment go? Well, those men became food obsessed, depressed, anxious, metabolically slower. Some of them even self-harmed pretty brutally to try and get out of being in the experiment. They binged uncontrollably when refeeding after the experiment finished. Does this sound familiar? Even modern research shows the same pattern. A 2016 meta-analysis in obesity reviews found that calorie restriction leads to hormonal changes that persist for at least a year, driving hunger and weight regain. This is why 95% of diets fail. It's not because you're not disciplined or you're rubbish, it's because your biology is working exactly the way it should to keep you alive. If you can make any diet work for you long term using grit and determination to maintain starvation rations and stay svelte in the process, I'm afraid I can't bring myself to congratulate you. You are in the 5% minority of people for whom this works, and it's definitely not healthy. In fact, I had an aunt who ate this way her whole life. She stayed slim, she barely ate anything at all. She smoked, she drank a lot of black coffee, and she drank a lot of alcohol. She very sadly died in her 60s, and her brother, my dad, is celebrating his 90th birthday this month. He didn't starve himself to slimness, and her older sister, 93, still going strong. I mean, it's just one tiny example, but I rest my case. So why food addiction fuels this cycle? If you enjoy my videos and you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to my channel or becoming a member where I share additional health content. There's a join button at the bottom. So on top of this, many of us are dealing with something nobody likes to admit: food addiction. Ultra-processed foods, especially those combining the sugar, the refined carbs and the fat, they light up the brain, the dopamine centres in the brain, which are exactly the same way that drugs and alcohol light up those centres. And neuroscientists call this the hyperpalatability effect. So Dr. Nicole Avena's research shows that these foods create dopamine spikes, instant gratification, tolerance, you need more and more to get the same hit, and withdrawal, anxiety or cravings when you stop getting your fix. Food addiction doesn't just make you gain weight, it also fuels mental health struggles, binge eating, and disorders like compulsive overeating, bulimia, and then potentially anorexia as well. And like any addiction, you can't willpower your way out of it. You have to gradually retrain your brain's reward system. And this takes time and consistency and support, never guilt and restriction. It's very dusty down here. So part 5, why 3 months is the minimum for real change. This is why in my coaching program, I ask you to commit for 3 months, 12 weeks, because this isn't just a plug for my courses. This is to help you understand why it takes that long. Here's the why. Natural rewiring takes time. According to research from University College London, 2010, it takes an average of 66 days to build an automatic habit. I used to think it was 3 weeks, 21 days, and longer if you have years of diet trauma behind you, because in my humble opinion, all diet is trauma. Number 2, hormonal healing takes time. Insulin, leptin, cortisol, these systems don't just reset in a week. They respond to consistency over the weeks and months. Your self-trust takes time to rebuild. When you've broken promises to yourself over and over again, you need time to prove to your brain that this time is different. 3 months is long enough to get past the honeymoon period, hit those challenges and learn how to keep going anyway. And that's what sustainable change looks like. Don't step back. Part 6. My story, the only thing that ever worked. So I tried it all. The calorie counting, the meal replacements, the low fat, everything. Punishing cardio. I spent years stuck in this cycle of restrict and binge and blame and repeat, and it never worked. Not long term. What finally changed everything for me was committing to 3 months of real, consistent, nourishing habits. Eating protein and real food, 3 months, really strict for 3 months, practicing daily movement that felt doable, working on my mindset, my habit web, learning to treat myself with compassion, not criticism, being kind to myself, getting to 3 months and then carrying on. because it was sustainable. So for the first time, I felt calm around food. The food noise went away. That was amazing. My energy returned. My digestion steadily improved. My gut pain and bloating, well, that stopped within the first few days. My achy joints stopped hurting. My sleep improved. My mood lifted. I feel happier. My body started to trust me again. This is the only approach that has ever worked for me, and it's the foundation that I teach in my courses. So having brought you up to the sort of halfway up my little bit of mountain where I live, I'm going to walk you back down the hill again. So part 7, the science of sustainable change. Let's end by talking about what real change actually requires. Nutrition that supports instead of depriving you. Protein first meals, whole single ingredient foods, and cutting out the processed junk and all the sugars that will just keep your cravings alive. Food addiction is way, way more commonplace than you might think. It's not just, people talk about having a sweet tooth. We've all got a sweet tooth. I'm reading a book at the moment called How Sugar Corrupted the World. I've gave you a link to it in my last week's newsletter. It's brilliant, and it's really fascinating how once man figured out how to grow sugar cane and harvest it for this sweet substance, it started completely corrupting the whole world. It was the basis for the slave trade, where millions of slaves were over the years, but from the 1600s onwards, were imported into these sugar growing areas like the Caribbean and the Americas, and sugar was grown and traded all over the world, and it was just an absolute hotbed of corruption from start to finish because of this addiction that people very quickly had, from rich right through to the poorest of the poor. Everybody wanted sweetness. Everybody wanted that sugar because it lights up the dopamine centres of the brain. It makes you feel good. It tastes amazing. Yes, it also destroys your health, rots all your teeth, messes up your blood sugar levels. I mean, it's just an absolute car crash as far as health goes. And it's the best thing you could possibly do is to, alongside giving up seed oils, is give up eating sugar in all of its forms. Healthy sugar too. Sugar from fruit is still just sugar. People ask me this every day. It's just sugar. Your body doesn't differentiate between that delicious ripe, banana or apricot or delicious strawberry. It treats it exactly the same way as it treats that can of Coke or that box of quality street chocolates at Christmas time. So nutrition that supports, not deprives, that's the first one. And cutting out those sugars that keep all those cravings alive. Movement that's sustainable, this kind of movement, walking, swimming's amazing. Swimming is brilliant because it supports the weight of the body whilst you're doing it. And if you can swim in cold water, then you're also building resilience. Things you can do every day, like, get yourself a yoga mat and stretch out and do some stretching and do some gentle yoga. If you can't lie on the floor, sit on a chair and do yoga. There are so many things that you can do just at home. Somebody asked me yesterday about skipping, jumping with a rope. Great exercise, very tough. So build up to it gradually. But it's dark in here. But it is a great exercise. You've got to find something that you like doing, that you like it enough that you're going to keep doing it. If it's a punishment, it will never work. You're never going to do it long term. So movement that's sustainable. You don't have to run a marathon, just daily walking, resistance training a few times a week, and that can just be body resistance training, resisting your own body weight. These and mobility and stretching, they are enough. Blood sugar balance, stable glucose keeps your hormones and your energy steady. This way, Mike's. So that means it doesn't mean keeping it in a straight line. That's not what we're aiming for. Blood sugar's meant to go up and down through the day. But you want it to be gently undulating rather than spiking high and then dropping down below base level and making you crave something sweet immediately because your body thinks you're going to go into a famine state. Stress reduction. Chronic stress raises cortisol, which makes fat loss and healing nigh on impossible. Mindset shifts. Seeing yourself as someone who's learning, not failing, someone who gets things wrong sometimes. We're not all perfect. It never... Lost my dog. There he is. Come on. Seeing yourself as someone who's learning rather than someone who's failing. When you put these pillars together over 90 days, you're going to build this foundation that doesn't vanish the minute life gets stressful. And to quote Baz Luhrmann, whose Sunscreen song was inspired by an essay by Mary Schmich, whatever you do, don't congratulate yourself too much or blame yourself either. Your choices are half chance. So are everyone else's. I love this song, and every time I listen to it, ever since 1999, so for 26 years, every time I listen to it, it makes me well up, because there's so much truth in it. Actually, apart from the bit about wearing sunscreen, because I don't do that anymore. Not chemical sunscreen, anyway. To wrap up, if you're tired of blaming yourself, tired of starting over, tired of thinking you're the problem, please hear this. You were never the problem. The approach was. Willpower wasn't meant to carry you. Starvation diets weren't ever going to heal you. What works is steady, consistent change. Real food, real habits, real mindset shifts. This is why I ask you to give me 3 months, because in 3 months you can rewire your habits, heal your metabolism, rebuild your confidence. You deserve a life where food isn't the enemy and you aren't at war with yourself. And if you're ready to start, I'd love to help you. You can find everything you need to join my 3-month program in the link below. Join for 3 months and be part of my community for the rest of your life. Somebody suggested that they felt the price was too expensive, or they really couldn't afford it, or they knew they should afford it, but they just didn't have the pennies. Let me put this to you. How much do you spend on keeping your car on the road every year? And yeah, I know the car's important, I know it gets you to work, but it's a car. Your body is the most important thing. You are the most important thing, because without your health, you have nothing. Without your health, the rest of life is really, really rubbish. So how much have you spent on diet foods over the years? Ask yourself that, perhaps on injections or magical supplements, or how much have you wasted on clothes that no longer fit you? How much will it cost you when you can no longer work because your body is too broken? And it's coming. I'm deadly serious about this. I see it all the time. People who just allow those bad habits to stack up, just like I stack up good habits. They stack incrementally. You don't realise it. You don't realise that your mobility is reduced by X amount of percentage since last year, since the year before. And one day you wake up and you can no longer walk. Think about that. Prioritise you for a change. Your health is more than another quick fix. Click the link in the description below to learn more about my step-by-step 3-month program, either coached or solo version. And remember, you don't have to do this perfectly. You just have to keep going. Finally, I love this quote. It's shared with me by my friend Julie Cumming in Scotland. Hi, Julie. Don't wait for things to get easier, simpler, better. Life will always be complicated. Learn to be happy right now. Otherwise, you'll run out of time. And if learning to be happy is learning how to take back control of your health and feel fantastic every day, then do it. Don't run out of time. If you've enjoyed this video, you might like to watch one of these two next. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, cheerio for now.